Well, happy Juneteenth. Now, this video is going to get a little political, and if you can't handle that, you might want to get off this video. But happy Juneteenth for everyone who is celebrating Juneteenth. Juneteenth is a holiday that has been celebrated in the Black community long before it became a national holiday. And I know that your president just recently, a few months ago, said that we need to get rid of some of these DEI holidays. And he was specifically mentioned Martin Luther King Day and Juneteenth. Too many days that Americans aren't working. Banks are closed. We're losing billions of dollars. How can we make America great again? Is what his statement was. But for the uninitiated, Juneteenth is the day that a Union general rode up into Galveston, Texas, and announced to the people there that, hey, you're free. You're free. The war is over. You've been emancipated. And as a matter of fact, slavery has been abolished in the United States of America. And so this is celebrated. And this has been celebrated by Black people starting in Texas and then migrating to other communities over the decades, over the century, I should say. It's a wonderful holiday. It is a Black person's 4th of July. Because remember, on the birth of this nation, that all men are created equal, they weren't talking about us. Slavery was still going on at that time frame. So our true 4th of July for the Black people in America is Juneteenth. And this is why we celebrate it. And if you want to join in with the celebration, that is perfectly fine. Have no problems. There are no exclusions from it. So join in the celebrations. But there is a group of Black people who don't want us celebrating Juneteenth. Not at all. And those are the Black people who say, we are already here. What are you talking about? We were already here. We were the indigenous people on these lands. But there's a problem with that thought process. You see, many of them think that these are their true ancestors who were already here, and that these indigenous people who are people of color, that they were the ones who were enslaved throughout America, and that the tales of them dying at 90% because of disease and war is untrue, that they were put in slavery. And there's no way that there were enough boats that could have brought enough people over here over a 200 and some odd year history, could have brought 12 million people into the Americas, with the overwhelming majority going to the Caribbean and down into South America, by which there's a larger population of Afro-Americans in those countries, in those areas, than there are in North America. But they believe that this is our true heritage. But what they fail to realize, and what they often skip out, is the fact that these people are those of the so-called five civilized tribes. Now, what made them the five civilized tribes? We're talking about the Cherokee, the Choctaw. We're talking about the Creek, the Seminole, and one more that just fell out my head. Chickasaw. Now, these five civilized tribes, what made them that is the treaties that they signed with the United States government. This treaty said that, okay, we will give you land and you will be self-governing on your land, have your own nation, but you have to dress European. You have to worship the God of the Europeans. You have to uphold European laws. You have to have slavery, just like the European. You see, this little Black child of African descent who is with these indigenous people is not someone they found wandering and by themselves in the woods with some walk around money. No, she was a child who was purchased through slavery. And it is documented of many who were purchased through slavery, purchased Africans, and brought onto these Native American territories and plantations or nations. And what many of them hate to admit and do not want to admit is that although Juneteenth, June 19th, 1865, ended slavery in the United States, where slavery was not ended was on these territories of the five civilized tribes. You see, it wasn't until the Reconstruction Treaty that was finalized June 14th, 1866, that slavery was truly abolished and the last slaves in what is America actually happened. That those who were bought as slaves to be husbands, because many had lost their husbands, those who were bought as slaves simply to work their plantations on Indian territories. Those people, those Africans, were enslaved on these Indian territories for almost a whole another year, just 5 days short of an entire year. And with the Cherokee Indians being the last one to finalize and let go of their slaves, makes you wonder why most European or European Americans like to claim Cherokee as their heritage. Makes you wonder just a little tad bit. They don't seem to claim the Muskegees, which are Creek or Seminole. They don't like claiming them Choctaws. But then a lot of black people want to say, oh, I'm Choctaw, I'm Choctaw. You're Choctaw because the Choctaw bought your family as a slave. You're Choctaw, you're Creek, you're Cherokee because they bought your family as a slave. And then when you go and you do some research, you'll find that, yeah, they might have been on those reservations, but they were slaves. They weren't free until almost a full year after every other slave in America had been freed. And you claiming this because maybe there was some intermarriage and you want to disrespect and take away the African heritage and you want to claim just that, that is just a total disrespect to whatever heritage your family came from. That would be like looking at this 1850 United States Census out of North Carolina, seeing my relative John Reed there, who was 12 years old, male, and mulatto, and saying that, hey, you know what? John Reed, whose dad was Jack Reed, and Jack Reed was of Irish descent. But I'm Irish. I am no. My ancestors didn't come from Africa. My ancestors came from Ireland, the land of the green, a great place that would also strive to go and be more like them. St. Patrick's Day, it's one of our greatest celebrations of Irish culture. And one day I long for the hills of the emerald grass of Ireland, where me and my little lass of a wife can enjoy a nice springtime day basking in the river. So yeah, since my great grandfather Jack Reed was Irish, this pigmentation on my skin matters not. Not from Africa. He was Irish. And when he got here, he got with an indigenous person. And they produced Jack Reed. But the truth is that the person that he got with, she was not indigenous to America. No. She was one of the slaves that was on the plantation. And Jack Reed said, damn, I'm sitting here in this North Carolina tobacco lands and the melanin is popping. And since the melanin is popping, I think I'm going to have a whole litany of children with her. Yeah, my family might sit up there and cast me out, but it doesn't matter. I'm going to be with my family here. I'm going to have a bunch of children with them. No, no. The overwhelming majority of my heritage comes from Africa. And I'm damn proud of my African family. Just because you don't like it, just because you hate your own heritage, that is your own problem. It is not mine. And do not try to force it on me. So happy Juneteenth, because even with June 14th being almost a year later, it is all still wrapped up in Juneteenth, 1866, when we were finally completely free, even from Indian territories. So June 14th, June 5th, June 19th, to me, I wrap it all up as one. So always remember, you have to free yourself to be yourself because your greatness is non-negotiable. Good journey, good vibrations.